Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim-Nakrin. Taking a look at some of the top stories that we're following right now. Crews in Atlanta have been working throughout the morning to battle that massive fire that you're looking at. This is at a historic building in northwest Atlanta, and it's actually believed to be an abandoned church on Vine Street. So Atlanta fire crews, obviously you can see they have the ladder truck there, and obviously I want to just be clear, this is not live images. These are some video. This is some video that was captured a little bit earlier in the day. But crews have been hard at work throughout the morning, just putting out the flames at that historic Gaines Hall. And you are taking a look at a video shot from our First Alert chopper. And you see the huge flames shooting out of the roof of that building, and a lot of thick smoke billowing into the sky. And the building, again, the historic Gaines Hall from the former Morris Brown College, is off of Northside Drive at MLK Drive. This is not the first fire in this historic building either. We actually talked with a woman who lives in this neighborhood, and she says that her community was trying to save that building. Let's listen.
Oh my God, it means a lot to me. I've been in the community over 49 years, and this school has been a pillar for this community, and the fact that Morris Brown is trying to regroup and rebound and get themselves back together, this is a major travesty for them, I believe.
Yeah, definitely a major travesty, as she mentioned. And so far, still no word what exactly caused this fire, but we understand that there are questions in that area among neighbors about unhoused individuals who live in that area. There were efforts to preserve that historic building after a previous fire more than a year ago. And we do know that back in February of 2023, Gaines Hall caught fire, causing major damage to the building. The second floor collapsed at that time. But again, the investigation is underway. We're going to keep following the latest developments. And another major story that we've been following as well is the trial for this man. He is a former Doraville police officer, and now he has been convicted of murdering Susana Morales. Really a tragic story that we have covered from start to finish here on Atlanta News First. Remember, 16-year-old Susana Morales disappeared in July of 2022. There was a massive search for her. And then a murder investigation began, focusing in on this man that you see on the left side of your screen, Miles Bryant, former Doraville police officer. Well, now he has just been convicted of malice murder, of felony murder, of kidnapping, and false reporting of a crime. I should say he was acquitted of attempted rape. Many legal analysts say there was insufficient evidence to result in a conviction on that claim because Miss Morales' body was so decomposed at the time that it was discovered. It was really just a skeleton remaining, and she had to be identified using dental records. But prosecutors did pursue a charge of attempted rape, partly based on the fact that there were no clothes on or around the remains of Miss Morales, and also they looked at the alleged stalking of multiple women by this now convicted killer, Miles Bryant. I want to get now to this report by my colleague Chelsea Beinfor, who was inside the courtroom capturing the moments that the verdict came down.
Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty.
Former Doraville police officer Miles Bryant found guilty Wednesday in the murder of 16-year-old Susana Morales. Her family and Judge Tamala Adkins emotional after the verdict was reached.
I just hope that after today, you and your family can find some peace.
Morales vanished in July of 2022. During the week-and-a-half-long trial, prosecutors said Bryant kidnapped, attempted to rape, and killed her, then dumped her body in the woods and lied about his department-issued firearm being stolen. The jury convicted Bryant on all counts except attempted rape.
I'm glad that justice was done and that Susana's family can have some peace.
During closing statements Wednesday, the defense argued that Morales could have died from a drug overdose since the medical examiner never determined her official cause of death. But the jury didn't buy it. Morales' mother and sisters thanked them, hugged investigators, and explained to the court the eternal pain and trauma Bryant caused their family.
Nothing will ever bring her back to this day. I still hope that I'll see her again.
As the judge sentenced Bryant to life in prison without the possibility of parole, he briefly addressed the courtroom, saying only,
I just want to apologize to everybody and to the victim's family. Sorry.
And thanks so much to Chelsea Beinfor for that report. We're going to continue to follow the latest in that case as well. But again, a guilty verdict achieved there in the case of Susana Morales' death. Okay, look at this. This man is being remembered right now. He's a victim who was killed. He died during the bus hijacking that led police on a chase in Atlanta through several counties around Georgia. Neighbors describing this victim as a kind family man, and really it's a tragic loss. Atlanta News First Rachel Aragon is outside GBI headquarters in Decatur, where the investigation is still underway into what exactly unfolded.
Good morning. Yeah, those who live nearby say they are simply heartbroken over the loss of a great man, a 58-year-old Ernest Byrd Jr. And now we're learning more about what unfolded Tuesday afternoon. Take a look here. Byrd was one of 17 passengers on the bus that was hijacked on Tuesday, and we now know the suspect, Joseph Greer. Investigators say Greer got into an argument with Byrd when this all escalated. Police say when Byrd tried to protect himself using his gun, the suspect allegedly took the gun and shot and killed Byrd. Well, the news, of course, of his death leaving many neighbors devastated.
It's sad, man, Yeah, it is real sad. I never expected that to be something that happened to somebody, that lives that close to me.
Rachel Aragon, Atlanta News First.
Turning to this story, look at this video. Look at the flames shooting out of the roof of this Douglasville apartment building. Well, now dozens of families are without a home after this fire, which gutted their home. Again, this is in Douglasville, this apartment building. And the fire absolutely ripped through, and it injured 3 people in the process. Atlanta News First Don Shipman is with the First Alert breaking news tracker in Douglasville, where families say there was actually no warning.
There are some serious questions about whether the smoke detectors and alarms were working properly. And that's because we heard from families who said they heard nothing when this fire broke out. I mean, take a look right here. This is all that's left. This building, a total loss. And this was a massive fire, too. I want you to take a look at this cell phone footage. Flames shooting out of the building, thick black smoke billowing into the air. It took firefighters a good 3 hours to put the fire out. Hours later, they were still putting out hot spots. The apartment complex called the Douglasville Proper Apartments sits along Chicago Ave here in Douglasville. 2 adults and 1 child were rushed to the hospital with unknown injuries. The fire chief said that there are at least 16 units in this building. He said this was a fast-moving fire, too. Some of the families that we talked with backed that up. They describe a frantic scene as they ran from the fire and calling back to others to get out of the building.
First, we're making sure everyone was out. Then, realizing we have nothing to come back to. We've never experienced anything like this. Where to start, who to talk to, who to call.
And it's kind of really sad to see it like this now. Imagine being a kid and having to start from ground zero. It's hard enough, for a lot of these families in the community. So I can just imagine what they're going through.
The Red Cross is helping out. Also, local nonprofit For the Kids Georgia helping. No cause as of yet. Fire investigators will likely return to the scene today to sift through what is left of this building. As for those questions about working smoke detectors and fire alarms, we did ask the leasing office about this. They put us in touch with the property manager. We're still waiting to hear back. We're in Douglasville. Don Shipman, Atlanta News First.
Thanks so much to Don for that report. I do want to let you know about a Supreme Court ruling coming down really within just the last few minutes here. The Supreme Court has essentially rejected a challenge to a widely used abortion pill. So the result of this is they're preserving access to it. And you may be familiar with this pill, mifepristone, which is a controversial abortion-inducing pill, but the Supreme Court has now rejected a challenge which targets the availability of
all
mifepristone.
abortions in the United States. Many women, many Americans watching for this decision to come down. Very closely watched the Roe versus Wade, the overturning of that. With the Supreme Court still is motivating women and voters across the country to head out to the polls to vote. So again, decision is still going to, I'm sure we're going to get all sorts of reaction. This is only a few minutes old at this point, this decision coming down to keep in place the access to medicated abortions. And again, just to make this easier for our viewers to understand, this is what was at stake. Medicated abortion medications, being able to access them through mail, not requiring an in-person visit. The Supreme Court, letting the current law stay in place, and the challenge to that, striking that down, saying the plaintiffs had no standing to challenge that. So again, I think it's safe to say that this is a big win for supporters of abortion access and supporters of reproductive rights who wanted to see these medicated abortion access stay in place, Marnie. Yeah, of course. Cool.
Of the audio from a report from a national correspondent on this Supreme Court ruling. And again, the big ruling here is that the Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the land, has upheld full access to a controversial abortion pill. Mifepristone is what it's called. You may be familiar with this. Essentially, the court rejected a challenge targeting the availability of this pill. But the ruling was sort of on procedural grounds, if you will. Essentially, the court found that the people who brought the legal challenge really did not have the legal right to do so. So if this issue comes up again, it's still a question as to how they might rule, but certainly a big win for advocates of abortion access. All right, let's transition now. Apologize, we got a lot of moving parts here. Maria, shall we transition to the forecast? I apologize, just talking off camera. We got some breaking news and a lot of things happening. So let's talk about First Alert weather. We have First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris, who has been standing by so patiently as we get to all the news of the day.
Okay, good morning to you, Joy. Good morning, everybody. I want to give you a quick update on your forecast because we do have several First Alert weather days that are still in place. So just a heads up for those of you here across Metro Atlanta. What you're looking at on the right-hand side of your screen, that is a live look at the city. Beautiful day here across the region. I mean, an amazing day, and that will continue to be the case. So we do have some First Alert weather days. However, they don't really kick into gear until the upcoming weekend. Today's going to be a fairly nice day with highs in the 90s. So let's get you to that forecast for today. There we go. As I get a little bit more centered up. Hour by hour throughout the course of the day today, 84 degrees at lunchtime. So if you're headed out to lunch, we did start with some clouds earlier this morning, so it was mostly cloudy, but those clouds are moving out. So by the time we get to 12 o'clock, we'll be completely sunny. 84 degrees will be your temperature at 3 o'clock today, 89 degrees, and 90 at 6 o'clock. The high is actually 91 degrees at 5 o'clock today. So it'll be the first time we've hit the 90s in a little while. Today's the first 90 for Atlanta in a little while. We have hit it so far this year, but I think only one time. So we're back into the 90s today. And if you're headed out to dinner, it's still like 84 degrees tonight at 9 o'clock. So a fairly warm day. But the heat really arrives this upcoming weekend. So we have a First Alert weather day for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This has not changed since yesterday. The reason for the First Alert weather days, there's several reasons. I want to start by kind of giving you the setup too, by the way, because it's because of high pressure. Now, last week, we had this huge area of high pressure that built across the southern portions of the country, southwestern portions of the country. That produced record heat, like Arizona, parts of California. That is a separate high that's redeveloped this week. It's not as strong as the one last week, but more importantly, it's moving east, like right now. So by the time we get to the weekend, that high is going to park itself over the southeastern U.S., and that's why our temperatures are going up. So the highs themselves will be in the upper 90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but this is another concern. The heat index what it feels like on your skin when you factor in the moisture, the heat index will get up to 100 at least on Saturday and Sunday. That's our biggest concern. A heat advisory is issued when the heat index is 105. We're going to get pretty close to that. And the reason why that's a concern is because if it's too hot and too humid, it's tough for your body to cool off. So definitely remember to drink plenty of water and stay in the shade if you're going to be outdoors over a long period of time. Excuse me. The heat index is expected to stay below 100 on Friday, but definitely at least 100 degrees on Saturday and Sunday. Not quite heat advisory criteria, but again, close. So that's another reason why we have those first alert weather days this weekend. So here's a look at that 7-day forecast. The actual highs themselves will peak at 98 on Saturday, so nearly 100 degrees. And I also want to point out, this is something that First Alert meteorologist Ella Dorsey was also pointing out here over the course of the morning. That low on Saturday night going to Sunday morning, 77. So we're talking about a low temperature, everybody, that'll be very close to 80 degrees. So not only is it hot during the day, but we're not really cooling off at night. And that's another reason why this weekend is a First Alert weather day, because you're going to be hot and your ACs are going to have to do a lot of work. So keep that in mind as well. We're going to be near record heat for both the highs and the lows over the weekend. Now, next week, we will go back to low 90s for highs, so it won't be quite as hot next week as what we're looking at over the upcoming weekend, but we're still in the 90s. But that's why we don't have those First Alert weather days continuing beyond this weekend, because that high pressure that I was telling you about, that'll start to relax a little bit and weaken, and so highs drop back into the low 90s. Still warm, but not quite as bad as this weekend. One thing that First Alert meteorologist Ella Dorsey also pointed out earlier this morning, we're at 90 degrees for the next 7 days. 90 degrees for the next 7 days. So the heat has arrived. Very little chance of rain over the next few days, just because it's so humid outside. We actually have a 10% chance of a spotty shower today and tomorrow. We don't usually include 10% chances on the 7-day forecast, but not impossible for you to see a stray shower. And then a 20% chance of some isolated storms Sunday and Monday. So there could be a pop-up storm or two in the afternoon on Sunday and Monday, but that coverage fairly low at 20%. We'll keep you up to date on this forecast. It will be hot. Again, not really dangerously hot today. Today's going to be a pretty decent day with mostly sunny skies, but the temperature cranks up over the weekend, and we'll have an updated forecast on Atlanta News First at noon, and always on our First Alert Weather app. I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday, and until next time, we'll see you soon.